Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Out of Spec podcast. My name is Francie. Thank you for plugging in with us today for some electric news. Of course, I have next to me here on the podcast, Kyle Connor. This week was pretty crazy in the world of electric vehicle industry and specifically EV charging. Tesla is, of course, a dominant force in the electrification of our transportation. Big dreams, lofty goals, a lot have been achieved, and this week, a huge layoff of the Supercharger team. The Supercharger Tesla network is the largest, prolific, reliable network, as a lot would say, and the numbers show, of EV charging in the US and also globally. They have a huge footprint. So to lay off the whole team, even if you are optimistic, you got to know that there is going to be ripple effects. We are gaining more and more information every day, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Kyle has some more deets that we're going to dive into. This episode is made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes. Okay, Kyle, so what have you found now that you're going to tell me about? I know there's going to be ripple effects. I know that there's more information to be had. What have you found so far?
Well, there's public ones. So actually, if we can pull up the article that was being shared around just a few hours ago from Cranes, New York, you can see that Revel, which is a charge point operator and mobility taxi service. I'm not totally sure how to describe them, but I've filmed at Revel sites before. We know the Revel people. They're pretty cool. They are actually going to potentially be, at least this is the report from a trusted source, be sapping up some of Tesla's future planned sites. And this is only 2 days after the team is let go. And it seems like Tesla has already walked away from a few sites and opened it up for Revel to sneak in and grab those locations that are cited for high power EV charging. What that means from I don't really know what that means, and I don't know how true it is or if someone just said something, but at least it's there. It's in Cranes. It's behind a paywall. You can go read it if you want to pay for it. And Caroline Spivak wrote the article. That's not what we're talking about today, but we're just seeing already some news, some ripple effects, like you mentioned, Francie, from Tesla letting go, not just the supercharging team, but almost the entire charging team. Now, it does seem like I've heard now the version 4 production team is still there. They're still trying to ramp up version 4. It's still behind schedule, my understanding, but it's not everyone on the charging team, which is what we've been saying. It's like most key planners, etc. It's like hundreds of very key important people. And what's crazy is I shared a story on, maybe we shared it on our podcast, but also the Out of Spec reviews video about how a friend of mine who works for a utility could not even get any contact at Tesla, right? It was just everyone that they knew, and this was automakers too, everyone that they knew, their contacts are gone. There's just mass confusion. I've had multiple conversations with multiple automakers now, and they're like, our rep is gone. We don't know what to do. A couple are like, we're still committed to NACS, and a couple are like, we don't know. So, NACS is sort of separate from supercharging, but the reason everyone decided to go J3400 North American Charging Standard was to gain access to the supercharger network. I don't want to drag this on. I want to read through the mass email that's being sent out to everyone. Somehow we intercepted it, which we're lucky to have. I know it has been shared on other YouTube channels, actually, I believe. So we're not the first ones to necessarily break this news, but I do have the raw email so that we've intercepted.
There, apparently this email went out in the wee morning hours the day that this news broke, and people were just finding out in large swaths that they had been laid off from these very important teams. So,
well, that's the firing email or the layoff email. Yeah. This is a different email. This is the one that's being sent to all of And anyone that
Remaining.
whoever is remaining at Tesla could find from like utilities and leaseholders, and it's all the externals. So this went to like the external companies, the external installers, and stuff like that. So here's what it says. So this was received by, I'm sure every single utility company, every single construction company, every
Yeah.
leaseholder
Tesla
of the
has
land.
so many partners that are invested in this part of their company. It's going to be interesting to see what their narrative is here.
Okay, so this is the outward email going out. It says, all concerned, you may be aware that there has been a recent adjustment within the supercharging organization, which is presently undergoing a sudden and thorough restructuring. Probably no better way of saying that. I mean, that is crazy. If you've
Sure.
already received this email, please disregard it as we're attempting to connect with our suppliers and contractors. Isn't that crazy? They're just trying to reach out to say who is working with us.
Oh my
As
God.
part of this process, we are in the midst of establishing new leadership roles, prioritizing projects, and streamlining our payment procedures. Due to the transitional nature of this phase, we are asking for your patience with our response time. Okay. Next paragraph goes on to say that this is whoever wrote this, is saying, I understand that this period of change may be challenging and that patience is not easy when expecting to be paid. However, I want to express my sincere appreciation for your understanding and support as we navigate through this transition. So this is basically saying, hey, we don't really even know who you are. We're reaching out to every email in our contacts list. We don't even know how to pay you. Just be patient. We'll get it sorted. That's the vibe that I'm getting here.
Yeah,
Um,
like hold your horses. We know this is important.
but more concerningly is what he goes on to say. And it's at this
Mhm.
time, please hold on breaking ground on any newly awarded construction projects and planned pre-con construction walks. So it's basically saying if anything is about to happen, just stop. Just do not start any new
Wow.
supercharging installations.
Stop everything.
But not everything, because
Yes.
he goes on to say
Breathe.
if currently working on an active supercharging construction site, please continue. At what point does it become active
Okay.
versus inactive? I'm not sure. And then it
I would
basically says
assume they've broken
contact.
ground.
Right, sure, maybe broken ground, but does permitting count? I don't know. Um,
Mm.
then he goes on to say contact this email, which I'm not going to share, for further questions, comments, and concerns. Additionally, hold on working on any new material orders. Contact another email for further questions, comments, and concern. If waiting on delayed payment, please contact this email for a status update. Thank you for your cooperation and patience, very respectfully. Whoever wrote that email. Whoa.
Hmm.
So
Hmm,
this
hmm,
is
hmm, hmm.
all kinds of crazy. This is, to me, and I'm curious to see what the commenters think. This is signaling, okay, we're trying to figure out who we're working with. We're trying to get a grasp on the sites that are out there. Don't start anything new. Don't, no new sites until we get all this sorted out, which is already part of their plan. They wanted to pull back the new expansion. But right now, it just seems like lighting the fire up inside like you mentioned, Francie, like almost survivor's guilt. Like all of these people that were not fired now have this huge weight on their shoulders to like go and figure everything else out. I'm not sure what that's like, but I can imagine that it's stressful for them going through some of the job descriptions of the people who are on this email. It's like not maybe their specialty to be involved in this side of the business, especially from a technical perspective. So it's quite concerning, the people that are communicating all of this, from my perspective. What do you think, Francie?
I'm trying to take the perspective of who would have, gotten this email. And having worked on the public infrastructure side of things, sometimes construction moves slowly, but you have this whole lineup of all these projects that are either underway or in permitting or pre-permitting, or you've broken ground and you're moving through. And those are huge undertakings. So to get this email and not really even have contacts with Tesla that you usually have, and being just kind of redirected based on what problem you have, and just having to tell your teams, okay, we have to pause on all these projects that are supposed to either cost or bring in this much revenue. I think it would be pretty overwhelming. I guess it's good that they're reaching out, but like you're saying, it does seem like these roles are being redistributed to who's there still. And I think that's where my concern as a partner would be, is like, okay, who's going to take on all of the responsibilities of the Tesla teammate that I had before?
Yeah, I don't know. This is quite concerning. We knew stuff like this was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to be like, I don't like, they don't even know who the heck they're working with or how to pay them or all this stuff. So look, it's not time to overreact. I'm sure Tesla can get this under control and just get a handle on who is involved. It sounds like this email is being sent out to like any email blast lists out there. It's not seemingly a confidential email because I've seen it posted out there. I'm not going to, again, disclose the people's names. I want to protect everyone involved here. But I've seen like other YouTube channels mention this as well. So we're not the first ones, but it certainly does paint a picture of maybe some chaos and confusion, and certainly asking for a lot of patience of the third party contractors that are expecting payment,
Mhm.
and those that have been banking on new sites. Utilities have been bringing power in for projected future sites. Does that count as construction? Because if a utility has spent $3 million putting in a transformer somewhere, I'm just throwing out numbers, are they then SOL at this point? They just laid out that capital, laid out that planning, laid out that construction in the anticipation that Tesla was going to put in a site there, and now they're not. So
Yeah,
this
I
might
think
be where Revel could come in, right? And take up some
yes.
of that available capacity. This might be a good
Mhm.
opportunity for other CPOs to jump in and snipe some sites.
That's what I think is so unique about this situation, because there's been layoffs before where projects have to halt, but these projects are so tangible and they have so many different parties involved. And to consider all the different moving parts and the fact that these are huge investments makes it distinct from other kinds of layoffs, versus a marketing project, a marketing campaign that has to be halted, or finding a new account manager that was laid off. Okay, that's difficult. You need patience. You're going to have to figure out how things go. But this is, I think, is just a different level than that. It's, like I said, very tangible. So I did see a lot of opinions, like you said, and like this Revel idea where, okay, are there going to be stranded assets or maybe opportunities now for other folks, other operators, whatever it is, to step in and claim them? Perhaps. It doesn't mean that NEVI funding has to be redistributed. I mean, that sounds like a pretty bureaucratic process that will take some time, and perhaps reapplications, or maybe whoever got second place is going to attain it now. So, again, I think we're waiting to just see how this unfolds. Have you spoken to anyone who has received this email and gotten their point of view?
I really shouldn't say. Yes, but not really anything that would be interesting to our audience. Everyone that I've spoken to from all the different automakers and interested parties, everyone's just like, what the f, man? But that is the general consensus, is like, holy shit. As a charging industry as a whole, I think it could be a very positive thing to decentralize our DC charging. This is a potential positive benefit, that we don't just have one company that obviously is acting irrationally at the moment to provide our fuel for all of the vehicles on the road, right? This allows a decentralized fueling network, which is what we honestly need for security and safety, and a real competition when it comes to cost and free market business. This could be good in the long run. But in the short run, it's hard to find really many positives about this situation.
Yeah.
Certainly, a lot of people are going to be affected from Tesla and beyond, because, of course,
Mhm.
everyone else that's involved with municipalities and construction companies and utilities and on and on and on, that are going to feel the ripple effects of this after laying out some serious money and putting people on projects, basically just being told to halt. Crazy.
Totally help. Yeah.
And
And
so,
one
yeah.
thing that I think is significant to consider is that, sure, there might be now opportunities, but the other competitors still, they're not like gaining. If anything, I guess they could gain NEVI funding or something like that, funding for it, but they already have their budget set. It's not like this frees up a budget otherwise. So I don't really know actually how
But
much of this an opportunity it is. What do you think?
yeah, the Nevi funding thing, there were only a few sites relatably or relatively, I would say, that
So
Tesla was
yeah,
going to
so
get,
how much of an
maybe less than 100.
opportunity is it?
Well, I think it's an opportunity if they're canceling sites that have already just about to start construction and the utilities throwing a transformer in there.
You're right. They could just take that up, be like, okay, now we don't have to have that cost. We can
Yeah,
just put
now
in our
more
dispensers, our cabinets.
cost, 18 months
Yeah.
or 24 months of wait time. It's just like,
Yeah.
bam, we can throw in our stuff right now and rock and roll. So there's going to probably be a bit of that. That's what the Revel grab seems like to me. I think this email paints a picture of just they're trying to get on 2 feet. They want everyone to just chill. They're like, we are going to do our best to take control here. No question, Tesla is, I think, a reputable organization, even through all of this. And they will pay, I'm sure, everyone that needs to be paid. It sounds like that's going to happen. Will they be paid on time? That sounds like it may not happen. I don't know. So anyway, I think we can end it here, which is we'll just be covering this story every day. There will be more news, more ripple effects, more things that we'll be covering, more opinions. If you're an industry expert and you can come on and speak to us about this, please reach out to Francie. We'd love to have you on. Maybe you're working for another CPO and you're just seeing a bunch of applications of people wanting to join. I spoke to some folks at Rivian Charging, and they said, "Hey, if they're kind of hiring, so might be worth it to look over there." So there's some things going on, good things that could come out of all of this, and I'd like to focus on the positives. We've covered the negative story. This is certainly an interesting email that's just being sent to everyone from Tesla, and I'm curious to see how this all plays out. Looking forward to reading the comments, as I have been reading the comments
Definitely.
on the other videos.
There are plenty of comments. We are not short for comments. And I think there's a lot of business people who can either have gone through some sort of situation like this, probably not exactly, but have a perspective on what they would think if it were them on either side of the coin. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on Twitter. Of course, like Kyle said, email me if you would like to contribute to this conversation as an expert in the space. Podcast at outofspecstudios.com. You can also find us on Twitter. However you get a hold of us, that works. We'll see you next time on the next episode. We'll make sure to keep our finger on the pulse. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.